Good evening. I'd like to call this June 23rd, 2021 meeting of the Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority to order. All members are present except for Councilor Davis is excused, and Councilor Pena will be joining us shortly. We will start with a silent invocation and then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As posted on our website and noted on our published Water Authority agenda, the Water Authority accepted general public comment and comments, specific agenda items in written form through via email, 4 p.m. today, and these comments were distributed to all board members. Hello?
I can hear you.
This is awesome.
There, we can
Sorry
see
about
you.
that. Sorry about that. I think it was me having internet issues. Could somebody tell me where I left the meeting? No?
You can start again at the Water Authority, accepted general public.
Thank you so much. The Water Authority accepted general public comment through the meeting, specific agenda items in written form via email through 4 p.m. today, and these comments were distributed to all board members. We will move on to item 3, which is the approval of minutes. So I make a motion to approve the May 19th, 2021 minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second from Councilor Jones. Ms. Jenkins, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Chair Quezada,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pena. She's not on yet. Commissioner Benson. Commissioner Benson? I think you might be on mute.
Yes. Apologies.
Thank you. Councilor Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Pisotti?
Yes. Piscotti, it rhymes with coyote.
Okay, thank you.
That's how I learned it.
Ms. Nair?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all. We do not have any proclamations and awards this evening, which is rare, but I think they're gearing up for our next meeting. So as you know, public comment, as previously stated, public comment was accepted prior to the meeting by email. We'll move on to item 6, announcements and communications. So my announcement is the next scheduled meeting. Our next scheduled meeting will be on August 18th, 2021 at 5 p.m. At this point, still via video conference. If it changes, we will let everybody know. Now we'll move on. And then there is no introduction or first reading of legislation. So we will move on to item 8, which is the consent agenda. So I move to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilor Jones. Do I have any comments about the consent agenda? No. So with that being said, Ms. Jenkins, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Commissioner Benson? Councilor Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Mrs. Nair?
Yes.
I think that's everybody.
And I will vote yes also. So that passes unanimously. We will now move on to item 9, which is approvals. This is item A, O21-2, amending the Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority Sewer Use and Wastewater Control Ordinance. This is presented by Danielle Shurin.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, last month I presented changes to the sewer use and wastewater control ordinance, and these updates are to update the local pollutant limits for industries, update the dental rule revisions, update some waste hauling prohibitions, and the fast oils and grease solids. I stand for questions and request approval.
All right. Do we have any questions? I do. Can you answer how the sewer ordinance will impact businesses?
Sure. So with the local limit increase, there's 3 analytes that we raise the limit a little bit. So for industries that are really close to the limit, they'll have a little bit more wiggle room if they're near violation. So that's a benefit for those. And we have about 60 industries that we regulate in that way. The dental rule updates will have probably the most direct impact. There is new rules for dental offices. We have about 210 dentist offices that we oversee, but we've been working with them in advance of these changes and assisting them and educating them. So we only anticipate 3 dental offices will have trouble when this goes into place. And then another kind of general impact would be there may be some new types of businesses that need to install a grease interceptor or solids interceptor just to protect the sewer a little bit more when problems arise. But again, education and assistance is always our first practice with all of our businesses to make sure they understand and can comply before we go through enforcement.
Thank you, Ms. Sharon. Do we have any other questions? I think that probably answered for everybody who was thinking about how it's going to impact businesses. I will move for approval for O21-2. Do I have a second? I have a
Second.
second. Councilor Jones. Ms. Jenkins, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti,
Yes.
Chair Quesada,
Yes.
I think that's it.
Yes.
And
Oh, I'm sorry. I did say Ms. Nair. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. I think that's it.
okay, well, great. It passes unanimously. Thank you all so much. We'll move on to item B, which is R21-12, amendment to the improved capital implementation program of the Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority and for the fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2022. Mr. Ari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. What you have before you is a resolution to amend the CIP budget to add capital outlay projects approved by the governor through House Bill 285. These projects were part of state legislative priorities approved by this board in December of last year. The projects include the Bousque non-potable water reclamation plant and reuse system for $410,000. Can work for the Kirtland Air Force Base bulk fuels facility data gap groundwater monitoring well in $770,000. Water and wastewater system upgrades for Carnuel for $155,000, and work on the outfall realignment at the Southside Water Reclamation Plant for $322,000. In total, it's $1.6 million. Staff recommends approval, and I stand for any questions.
Do we have any questions?
Mr. Chair, I would second the motion to approve.
Okay, so well, I move for approval. We have a second from Councilor Jones. Ms. Jenkins, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner Piscotti,
Yes.
Mrs. Nair,
Yes.
Chair Quezada,
Yes.
and Counselor Jones.
Yes.
That passes unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to item C, which is R21-13, establishing a fund for the San Juan Chama Contractors Association Fiscal Agent Agreement with the Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority, establishing the budget for Fund 41, San Juan Chama Project Contractors Association for fiscal year 2022. Ms. Anderson to present.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, my name is Elizabeth Anderson. I'm the Chief Planning Officer for the Water Authority. I am here to recommend approval of this resolution to establish the fund for the San Juan Chama Project Contractors Association. Back in September of 2020, at the board meeting, the Water Authority Board approved signing of the Memorandum of Agreement, which created the San Juan Chama Contractors Association. And recently at our last meeting, the Water Authority was selected as the fiscal agent for the board. So this is a fund that will allow us to collect dues that can be used for projects that are being contracted by the San Juan Chama Contractors Association. It's an honor to be selected as the fiscal agent, and it's really exciting to watch this group take shape. It's going to allow us to do a lot of work on the contract for the San Juan Chama project. So that, the initial action here, the fiscal impact is $24,200 per year, and that's the dues that'll be paid into the account by the Water Authority. Then we'll be collecting dues from the other contractors, and that funding will be used to pay for projects that is going to be that'll be completed for the Contractors Association. And I stand for any questions, and I recommend approval.
Do we have any questions? So I move for approval to item R21-13. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilor Jones. Ms. Jenkins, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Chair Quezada,
Yes.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti,
Yes.
Ms. Nair.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That passes unanimously. We will now move on to other business. Item 10A, which is OB 21-10, the 2020 Water Quality Report by Ms. Shuren, presented by Ms. Shuren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Danielle Shuren. I'm the Compliance Division Manager, and I'm presenting tonight on the 2020 Consumer Confidence Report. This is the annual report on drinking water quality that we put out every year. These have already reached customers' addresses and been posted in libraries and community centers for 2020. Why do we need to have a water quality report? This is an EPA requirement. It's an annual public notice that's required of all community public water systems. It's the main intent is to show how our drinking water compares to the standards in the Safe Drinking Water Act and express any detections that have happened throughout the year, detections of contaminants that have happened throughout the year. And there's a lot of information that we use to educate and inform customers about the source water and different issues in water quality as well. Next slide. There's a lot of the information in this report that is required by the EPA. We do have design, there's just a ton of information packed into one brochure. So some of the things that are required is water system information. How can customers learn more, get help, ask questions, those sorts of things, making ourselves available to our customers. Teaching them about sources of groundwater. You know, we have a diverse groundwater source with multiple wells, and then we have a big surface water plant. So those are two different types of water that we serve, so we explain how that works. And then there's a lot of technical definitions that are also explained just to be consistent across public water systems nationally. Next slide. Specifically, the detected contaminants from 2020 is the required information in the public notice. And we express that where it's collected for compliance purposes. And that's at entry points. So that is each source may have an entry point to the distribution system. So where any new sources enter the water system, that's called an entry point, but right before the first customer. So we know that what the quality of water is right before our first customer gets it. And then also throughout distribution. So, water quality can change as it moves throughout the distribution system. So we monitor and track that throughout. And then also at the surface water plant, because there's a significant treatment process going on there. Back one more, please, thanks. We do have to test for unregulated contaminants. So although they are unregulated, the EPA requires testing of a list of contaminants that they prepare every 5 years. And that prepares the EPA to do research on what needs to be required in the future. And there's also, again, educational information in terms of contaminants and how they can impact public health. Okay, next slide. Here's an example of the definitions. I think an important part here is the parts per billion and parts per million. It just really emphasizes that we're looking at very, very small levels. Parts per billion, an example of that is a drop of water in an Olympic-sized pool. So not only to express the technical language, but also give perception of how small these amounts are. Okay, next slide. In terms of the contaminants that were detected in 2020, there is a list, but they are all meeting EPA standards. So there was no violation of standards. We meet all requirements in terms of the water produced. Again, the detection levels are low, so we're looking at very small amounts that we found in this. Okay, next slide. More details on the unregulated contaminants that were monitored in 2020. Every 5 years this happens, so it takes a couple of years to collect everything. So in 2020, the only thing that was added to this list was some manganese samples. So most of this is a repeat from last year. Next slide. Okay, required educational language. And this is some of the language that EPA requires for people that may be more sensitive to specific things in their water. Sodium's a good example. Maybe there's a heart condition or something where people have health impacts where they may be more sensitive to others than others. So this is where we add that information. And then we also have a lot of optional information. We want to give our customers as much information as we can about what we do and what we understand. So we fully explain the surface water treatment process. It's a number of steps to that process. So there's a good diagram and schematic explaining that. We describe the source water protection process in terms of how we protect our sources, the plan that we have posted on the website, and how people can get involved in their watersheds. We list our awards and common concerns. So right now, coronavirus is a common concern. How do we know that's not a problem with our water? And then voluntary lead testing as well. I think there's another slide on that. So that's included as well. Okay, next slide on voluntary lead. We are still offering free lead testing for customers at their homes. This year, you can see we had 33 samples, so 33 requests for samples collected at their home. And the results for this, the maximum we found was 3 parts per billion. That's the ppb. The action level is where EPA is concerned and there could be a problem. So 15 is where there's a problem. Our maximum that we detected was 3. And the 90th percentile is about 90% of the results were 2 or less samples of what we saw last year. All right, that concludes my presentation. Is there any questions on the annual water quality report?
So do we have any questions? Okay, I have a few. Is this available in Spanish?
Yes, yes, we do have it translated into Spanish. We don't mail out the Spanish version, but we do post it on the website.
Okay. Did we have any violations in 2020?
No, we did not have any drinking water violations.
Okay. And then is the water quality info available by neighborhood?
It is actually on our website. We have a webpage called Water Quality by Distribution Zone. So when I mentioned earlier the entry points, we have about 20 zones throughout our distribution where different sources may cause a little bit of change in the general chemistry. So for example, if someone's looking to put in a water softener, at their house, we would send them there. They could look at the hardness in their neighborhood and use that information.
And then my last question is, how does the EPA determine the maximum contaminant levels?
That's a good question. So the EPA looks at a number of things in determining that. Primarily, okay, does the contaminant cause an adverse health impact? That's the most important thing. And then what is the part of the unregulated contaminants that we're testing for is they're looking for the prevalence of that. Is it a problem nationwide? Is there a high enough level of this contaminant where it is actually impacting people's health and we want to regulate it to make them bring it down? And for that reason, they make sure that the treatment costs weigh to the health benefits, I guess is the best way to say. So they want to make sure that regulating it can make a difference and really improve health risks nationwide. So they use the unregulated contaminant testing from public water systems throughout the nation and look at the prevalence. They weigh the health impact. Is it a significant health risk? And then they make a determination on the level of acceptable contamination that will not impact health.
Okay. That makes sense. Any other questions? No? All right. All right. So we're great. Thank you for that. We'll move on to item 10B, which is, excuse me? Okay. I thought I heard somebody. No? Okay. We'll go to the drought update with Mr. Carlos Bustos.
Good afternoon, Chair Quesada, members of the board. I'm glad to be here. I'm Carlos Bustos and I manage the conservation program. Please, next one. I'm gonna update on our current drought situation. Yes, Chair, it's as bad as it looks. The situation is not improving. Spring rainfall was slightly below 2020. When we were already experiencing below normal precipitation and higher than normal temperatures. To date, we've received maybe 2 inches across Albuquerque area. Normal year, that would be more like 4 inches. And it does make a difference in cooling the soil and starting out the summer. Next one, please. This last week alone, we experienced about 4 days that were record high. More than 100 degrees, and the outlook is looking like the temperature is going to be above normal for the next 3 months, and precipitation is going to be below normal. So we are in the summer season in the mix of the drought and the heat at high demand. So next, please. For now, a good monsoon season could alleviate the situation, but most likely we're going to complete this irrigation season under our current drought situation. That means we're at stage 1. We're not asking to move into another stage because we have no need to do that. The drought stages look at UBCD and groundwater pumping as a % of the goal. And depending on where we are with per capita and that goal, we make recommendations. Our GBCD is holding steady at 129. By the end of 2020, it was 128, and that included a 12% increase because of the pandemic and COVID. So we're not far from that, and we're holding steady at 129. That's a good sign, in summer, and pumping is still about 140% of the goal. So I'm gonna, next one, please. I'm gonna talk to you about what we're doing, and in case you missed it, in billboards, bill inserts, or commercials. This is some of the campaign that we have in advertising to educate customers about current drought situation, and also to promote and advices and recommendations. So you're familiar with the elephant and the water by the numbers program, and you'll see multiple billboards that we've added right now. I think we got between 25 and 35 billboards across the city. Next one, please. This latest June and also in July, we included this bill insert, and that has resulted in overload of calls. So be careful with waterways. Your neighbors are looking at you. There's definitely an increase in the calls that we're getting, at least 15 to 20 calls per day. Right now, we got over 150 cases that are open, which include not only irrigation issues, but also in the cooling towers. So we're doing this bill insert again in July. As part of this year drought messaging, we're also taking advantage, because folks are paying attention, to promote our Serascape rebate and our smart controllers. And because of that, our Serascape inspector is maxed out. He's doing about 15 to 25 inspections a week. We have over 400,000 square feet of turf removal committed, which is excellent. It's more than or within the normal or more than average for a year, but that's just half of the year. So we're expecting a lot more with this increased promotion. Also, the smart controllers, that's a new rebate that we launched last year, and this year we've seen a 150% increase because of the added promotion. And also, we rolled out some messaging in Spanish to alert folks of identifying leaks, specifically because we know that can be one of the main issues that I had a leak recently. It's something really common in our homes. Some of the social media we're using this year, and these are going out weekly. We got folks that are working on every week choosing different messaging around the drought, and we're doing both in English and in Spanish. And these are all labeled from the WaterSense EPA. So they decided to add some drought messaging this year to make it available to the partners, and we are partners with the WaterSense label, so we're taking advantage of social media platform as well. This is other examples. As you can tell, you know, one of the big messages coming in nationally is the importance of replacing turf with more drought tolerant, climate ready plants. So we're piggybacking from that, but we're also in tune with our local message and what we're asking customers to do. If you missed it, we included an insert in the Albuquerque Journal on April 11th this year, and that was really informative. It went out to the entire Albuquerque Journal customers or clientele base, and it was really informative. It talked about what to expect this year with the current drought situation, and also what to do. Next one. And I'm gonna share one of our commercials in case you missed it. It's just a few seconds. Yeah.
You wouldn't overwater your elephant. It's wasteful, and it's not good for the elephant. For the same reason, you wouldn't overwater your yard. Remember to water by the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. 1 day per week in March, 2 days per week in April and May, 3 days per week in the summer, and ramp down again in the fall. It's the responsible way to weather the drought. A drought reminder from the Water Authority. Thanks.
Thank you. Chair, I'm sure you're an expert, but we wanted to remind you as well of the water by the numbers and how it goes. Right now, we're asking folks to water just 3 times a day. We're also going above and beyond, 3 times a week. Sorry, not 3 times a day, please not. 3 times a week. And we're also, through our Ask an Expert, email, we're getting a lot of questions, and we're more detailed about like how much to water, how long, and how many gallons, etc. I think somebody has a question, I think, right?
Well, for me, so I'm going to ask again. We're still at 2 times a week, but because of the temperatures, it's been really hot. Does that change that?
So we're at 3 times a week right now in the summer season, and it shouldn't change. So if you got turf, for example, we're asking folks to not go and not water more than 10 minutes each time. That should be sufficient. If you got trees, then that's another story, but you can following that 3 times per week, you can water maybe around 20 minutes your trees, etc., because we want to make sure that all plant material are not dying as well. So there's
I mean,
definitely ways that you can meet the needs of plants without having to use more water.
So what about if you're growing like tomatoes and jalapenos and so
Most likely those require more like a annual or daily watering. So you want to make sure that you're watering 5 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes your plants, and those are high water users just because of conceptual and they're building fruits, etc. So
yeah,
you want to make sure that you're watering every day. So
okay.
that's the one exception.
But just minimally water per as
Yep.
minimally as you can, right?
Yep, you don't have to overdo it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Bustos. Do we have any questions for Mr. Bustos?
We have another part of the presentation,
Okay.
and this is to talk about another effort. The Drought Action Plan talks about the main measures that fall under each stage, but there's other measures that we can always take and do throughout the year in drought years and in not drought years. And this is one of those that we started back in 2020, taking advantage of the pandemic and that schools were closed down, facilities were closed down. We started out with APS, and now it's led into working with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different partners. So it's a great success story, and I want to share the information with you. The
Sure.
data that I'm going to be providing is between June 2020 and May 21. Sorry. Thank you. What's the next? So the way this project works is that we do an AMI, daily continuous usage report. It's basically our leak report, and we got all this partners with AMI meters, and then daily we get a report stating which ones are showing continuous usage or possible leaks. So we take that information and we have a threshold of a loss of 37 gallons per hour. And based on that, we contact our partner, and then we go on site and conduct a leak audit. Today, we've done 208 leak audits, and 115 of those have been mainly indoors in schools, and then 93 looking at parks and irrigation systems. The 7 partners that I mentioned, in total, they manage almost 4,000 sites and almost 5,000 acres of irrigated land. So this is large users, high impact partners. Next one, please. So leaks, they vary by severity. A big leak would be a cooling tower, for example. Those can lose between 500 to 1,000 gallons per hour. And we found at least 24 of those, especially in schools and in some city facilities. And what happens is that sometimes we look at ponding like this and we don't connect the dots. In a drought year, if you see something like this, something's going on. So that's what we're trying to identify. And folks in the field, facility personnel, are pretty happy with the results because now they're also learning how to identify these leaks themselves. We found almost 560 leaks, which is, they go from minor, which can be a toilet or a sink, to those big ones that I mentioned, the cooling towers. Next one. Cooling systems, in total this year, we found 59. Those have ranged from small droplets to 1,000 gallons per hour. Indoor, we found a lot of toilets and leaks and faucets and kitchen. And also outdoors, we tend to find more in valves and heads and spray nozzles. As a result of these inspections, most of the leaks, when we first started, we were losing on an average about 300 gallons per hour. You can see there that if you follow the chart right around the middle, by the end of 2020, that continuous usage average had dropped to almost 27 gallons lost per hour because of this effort. Because it was so successful, we decided to extend it to City of Albuquerque parks, City of Albuquerque Clean Cities, the airport, the facilities, and also our partners in the county and also CNM. And now we're having conversations with other folks as well from beyond those municipalities to that as well. So you see that increase again going up because now we added more into the mix. But we're starting to see, as this result, we're starting to see the same drop in continuous usage because of this. Next. The beauty of this is that once we found the leak and we determine how long the average leak lasts when not inspected, we're able to analyze each individual leak and determine how many days of leaking were avoided once it was fixed. And as you can see there on the green, it shows that when it's inspected for parts, the leaks gets fixed within 3 days. Where otherwise it will run for 29 days and somebody will accidentally or inspect it or find it. It's the same story with APS. And if you look at others, that's even more because some of those folks don't even have like dedicated personnel or lack of staff because of the COVID and et cetera, and all the other challenges that we face as municipalities. And sometimes those leaks can last more than 75 days. The result in the first 6 months or so is 12 million gallons saved from avoided leaks. And to date, we've saved 25 million gallons. And we're not stopping there. Because of this, we have built really strong relationships from all the ways to the facilities personnel, to facilities superintendents, to like head of facilities management. And now we have a continual day-to-day conversation where they know to trust on us to monitor these leaks and also to go out there and help them identify them and talk to them about how to correct some of those measures. The next step is that now that we are going into these facilities, we're also starting to identify all the fixtures that should be replaced with more efficient models. And after that, we're going to roll out an incentive specific to work with our municipal partners to see if we can switch out and replace more than 350 toilets, for example, that we found in APS that were still 3.5 gallons per flush. And that's the end of the presentation. If you have questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bustos. Commissioner Benson.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Bustos, I've got 2 questions. In your first report, you had 2 temperature maps near the beginning of the report. The one on the left looked very familiar. The whole thing was covered in red and looked like the whole state was on fire. But then the map to the right was the same map, just lighter colors. And I don't know what that was representing. Can you explain that? And then I also have a question about this leak report.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Yes, so that slide is showing on the left side temperature, and then on the right side it's showing precipitation. So
Okay, thank you.
Normally we wouldn't be seeing any colors, or hopefully in a great year on the precipitation map it would be all green. Unfortunately, those colors show that we're below normal for the outlook.
Thank you. Okay, that makes sense. And then with the leak report, that's great, great news. Is there a way for residents in Bernalillo County to call the water authority if they suspect a leak at their own home or their own business?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Benson. Yes, every month we identify over 1,500 customers that have either high consumption or some odd usage, and we send them a letter and we advise them of a potential leak or issue with their usage, and we urge them to either hire a plumber or to give us a call. And we tend to manage about 150 calls of those every month. And we talk to them and we do a walkthrough that's like, check your toilet, check under the sink. And out of those, typically we end up finding 80% of those leaks just on the phone. And for those that we don't identify or we can't help the customer over the phone, then we send somebody out and we can offer a leak audit.
Great. Now, are those numbers represented in your presentation? You did have a category that said other. I didn't, okay,
No,
what's in the other?
The other is our newest partners, which is all the facilities that the city manages. So we're working with the facility, the city facilities manager, Ismail Saif, with over almost, I think, is 1,200 facilities and sites. So those are, we just started that program like maybe 6 weeks ago, and that's why it's showing that scale. My guess is that within 1 month or 2 months, that scale is gonna change, drop considerably from being able to find leaks, identify and fix them. Because we're just starting out that relation.
Okay, thank you. That's a great report, Mr. Bustos. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have any other questions for Mr. Bustos? Okay, thank you so much for that report. It's bitter. It's always bittersweet, but you make it as enjoyable as you possibly can with the news that you got. So we appreciate that. We will now move on to item 10C, OB 21-12, which is the reuse plan. Ms. Agnew to present.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. Carlos just talked through reducing angle of water, and I'm going to be talking about how to reuse our water. So the reuse plan is an implementation plan that's called for in Water 2120 and the policies, and it outlines how the Water Authority is going to implement and grow reuse as an alternative water supply. So back in Water 2120, we analyzed multiple supply alternatives, and reuse was identified as being one of the key alternatives that we needed to develop into the future so that we could continue to meet demand. Right off the bat, I want to kick off with this isn't something new to the Water Authority. We actually have 2 existing reuse systems that are providing reuse water. So when I say reuse water, I mean treated wastewater and or treated industrial effluent. So something that may be coming from an industrial partner who permits with us, and then they can discharge into the reuse system. We have one in the south side of Albuquerque. This is the south reuse system where we distribute water to the green areas are obviously very hard to read in this map, but they include city parks, they include golf course, and the system's been in place since 2003, and it actually delivers a demand of around 1,300 acre feet per year, though we can certainly do more on the south side reuse system. And then in the top circle, you can see a little bit of our north reuse system. This reuse system delivers reuse water to turf irrigation, including Balloon Fiesta Park. There's a couple golf courses on that line, and then we also have a couple of smaller entities, some church properties, and other city parks. That system delivers a demand of around 2,700 acre feet per year. So collectively, we have an annual demand of around 4,000 acre feet, and these systems we have demonstrated a multiple years of being able to operate these systems, meet demand, and in fact, be able to increase demand when we look at just the south side. I would like to also say that these are permitted through the state of New Mexico. Both of these have a permit with the Environment Department that ensures that we meet the water quality requirements for reuse systems, and is something that we have demonstrated success on as well. Next slide. So what is the purpose of the reuse plan? Well, the reuse plan, like I said, is meant to outline how the Water Authority is going to do reuse. How are we going to make this supply alternative come online and in a way that is robust and sufficient to meet demand? In policy, Water 2120 calls for it to be an adaptive management plan, so we have written it that way. I'll go a little bit into what that means. But in our modeling for Water 2120, we saw that in just the baseline scenario, and that's like the low key version of water management. If we were to do nothing, this is what would happen, that we would have reuse water be available in the mid 2020s. And that's part of our paying off of a hump effect groundwater management. But we're not doing nothing. We are doing many things, and we are building supply alternatives. We have ASR in place, we have reuse in place. We're talking about growing all of that. So we know that we will have available wastewater in the future and that it'll be a sustained supply for us to use. The adaptive management approach, next slide, please. This graphic makes it look fairly simple, although I will say that it is simple in concept, but complex in practice. So it is really iterative. It's meant to be learning. It's meant to say, okay, here is what our models predict will be true. Here's what our best knowledge is as of this moment. And then also take into account what we are observing in existing systems. So in our case, we've got 2 reuse systems that were operational. They've been going for more than a decade. What do those, almost a decade, what do those systems tell us we need to do? And where are our capacity limitations, where are demand limitations, and then how can we add on to them to make it more effective? That's part of adaptive management. The other thing is when we're looking at a new project, you have to do a little bit of predictive work. You have to look at the groundwater portfolio, you have to look at the surface water portfolio into the future, and you also take into account what we've seen in the past, and you make a plan. And then that has to keep going back and forth. So it looks like a pretty color wheel where we'll just keep going through those steps, but really it's going to be a few, a couple steps forward, a step backwards, maybe sometimes, or we'll make a lot of steps forward, and then we may have to go back because we realize that there's something about the system that happened that we didn't anticipate in all of our modeling. And so the other part of this is it requires coordination. We can't do this in a vacuum. We really have to do it in partnership within the Water Authority, but also within the region. Next slide. So informed planning, when we're talking about reuse, when we're talking about new projects that we want to take on, we can't be rigid in our process. We need to take advantage of a network of utilities that we have through our various memberships that are actually doing reuse projects that we have on the deck. So we don't have to wait for us to implement something to learn from it to adapt and plan. We can use these other projects, our partners, their research, their operations to inform us in what we're doing. And we also have a really robust evaluation that we did in Water 2120. We have evaluation criteria that we presented in Water 2120 as part of our supply alternative analysis. And that was done actually in collaboration with our customers. It was done in collaboration with our technical customer advisory committee, and really is a way for us to screen projects to make sure that what we are doing fits the intent and need of Water 2120 and water demand into the future. Next slide. So this slide has one of my favorite graphics, although I may be alone in thinking it's cool. But I really like, it really captures for me that when you go, you've got your raw water, when we provide drinking water, we are making it very high quality water. You just heard Danielle's report on the quality of water that we're delivering to our customers. We're in compliance, but we're also going above and beyond compliance. Wastewater is water that is lower quality when it first comes out of the system, but there's a way to bring it up above the drinking water. And it really, what that level is and the amount of treatment is really driven by this concept of fit for purpose. What is that water going to be used for? And then based on that, we can design the treatment, we can design the monitoring, and we can design our sampling program. And this path is actually taken out of the EPA National Reuse Action Plan. So there is a roadmap that we can follow. We can work, again, it's informed by partners across the US doing reuse, and it can help us target what we want to do and what we need to do with our various reuse projects. We right now are doing turf irrigation, so that looks different than it will when we do indirect potable recharge and we do direct potable recharge. So those steps are going to sometimes not look the same for all of the reuse projects that we talked to you about, and that's just because of this concept of fit for purpose. The other thing to talk about on this slide is that when we talk about available wastewater, we're not talking about a single number every year. That number is going to vary quite a bit, and that is going to vary depending on the year that we're having. Are we having to pump more groundwater like we did in 2020 and are in 2021 because we have less surface water available? Is it how are we past the hump effect? Have we paid off what we need to for our past groundwater pumping? And therefore, there's a really important step in this reuse plan of making sure that we are designing a system for what we know we need and being iterative in that so we don't get too far ahead of ourselves and end up with stranded assets or a system that ends up not being useful to our customers and not meeting the intention of meeting demand. Next slide. So with that, I am going to dive into some projects that we know we're going to do. And this project is one that's actually happening right now. I think it's a really cool example of how the Water Authority is we've got a plan, we've got evaluation criteria, we've got projects identified, and then we're open to other options. And this Winrock reuse system is a great example of that. Through discussions with the Winrock developer, we realized there's an opportunity to make reuse happen in a part of the city that doesn't currently have reuse, and in a way that's actually going to showcase it with that neighborhood and that development to raise awareness to our customers of this really important part of our water supply portfolio. It's not going to yield a huge amount of water. It's fine. It's great. It's going to be roughly 25,000 gallons per day, but it will still be something. And so the irrigation in that development will be done with reuse water generated at this plant, the satellite plant. It's a really cool concept. It's something that's going to give us some agility in our ability to work with neighborhoods to bring this into the neighborhood. And it still contributes to meeting that the reuse as a supply alternative. Next slide. Here's another really big project. So this one was actually in Water 2120, and I'm bringing this one up first, not because it was the topmost ranking reuse project in Water 2120, it was actually the third, but because of how important it is to the whole reuse scene. The reuse scene, like it's some hip club, but it is in my life. So you got the south side and you have the north side reuse that right now are separated. And in the case of the south side, we're limited by demand. We've really gotten to almost all the places we can for turf irrigation. And then we've got the north side, and we have all this green space in between that we can't get reuse water to for irrigation without this connection. So that's part of why this is really important. The other thing that this will do is that it'll put into place infrastructure for us to be able to develop our indirect potable recharge and potable recharge projects into the future. So that's something that is in our supply portfolio. Water 2120 did rank that as something we needed to pursue, but we really can't get into those projects until we have foundational infrastructure like this. And then the other thing that this will do that is also really exciting is it complements ASR. So once we have the north to south reuse systems talking to each other, and we can use this to meet the demand for both systems, it means that we will no longer be irrigating the Balloon Fiesta Park and the golf courses and the green spaces in the north side of town with San Juan Chama water. We'll be using reuse water, classic reuse water. And then all of that San Juan Chama water can go to Bear Canyon and go into the ground. and will meet our full permitted volume. So right now we're getting around 600 acre feet per year, recharge year at Bear Canyon. This project can help us get towards that 3,000 acre feet per year, which is an incredible contribution to that groundwater bank account every recharge season. Next slide. And then on this slide, I have two projects shown here. I combined them because they're similar in nature, though they're in different locations. The first one is the Bousque reuse system. This is a reuse treatment system that will get reuse water to the west side. So right now, the west side does not have any opportunity for reuse to be applied to turf irrigation. This will make that happen. There is also this really great potential for an aquifer storage and recovery project right near the Bousque reuse system plant. So it's got the ability to have both reuse and ASR supply alternatives met with the same infrastructure. And then similarly to Harris reuse system, this is down on the Kirtland Air Force Base, and it would allow us to get reuse water further south and further, like in the southeastern service area. So it expands our ability to deliver reuse water that's not happening currently, and then also has a really neat ASR component, which I think makes it exciting. Next slide. So in summary, using the evaluation criteria that we did first developed in Water 2120, but built into this plan, we had 3 projects rise to the top, and that was the connecting north to south. We had Bousque, and we had to Harris. Since Water 2120, we've also identified this Winrock reuse system. All 4 of these have been through that evaluation criteria in the plan. So we're not being rigid in that practice either. We had these 3 Water 2120 projects pop up in 2016 when the plan was being developed. When we did this plan, we rescored them. We ran them through the same filter that we ran the Winrock through and made sure that that score continued to indicate that these were priority projects, and it does. And that all of these are really important for us to be able to go into the future of IDPR and DPR. So these projects are huge. They're integral to being able to grow reuse, but they're also integral for us to continue to implement our Water 2120 supply alternatives. I want to highlight on here, though, we've got years. So Winrock, we expect to be complete in 2020, and you can see that some of these other years seem far out. We've got 2030, 2045, 2055. These are all estimates. In fact, we anticipate those changing. As you can see on this slide, we're actively working on funding for all of these projects. So we've got capital outlay for the 3 major Water 2120 projects so that we can begin the permitting, we can begin the design, and get the legwork done to get these projects in the works. Next slide. So in summary, we have this adaptive management approach. It's an iterative, it is a non-linear approach. It shouldn't look, we don't want it to look the same every day, every year. So if you came and asked me a year from now what the adaptive management numbers look like and evaluation criteria and monitoring, it will look somewhat the same, but should also be different because we have different things happening and different projects coming online. But what does need to happen is that it needs to be a feedback loop. So we should be collecting data from our existing projects, and we should be looking at capacity, demand, whether or not we comply with all of our permits, and then evaluating that and saying, okay, what do we need to adjust? Do we need to make some adjustment to a system that's already operating? Do we need to bring on a new project? What does that new project need to do? Where does it need to be? And that these evaluation criteria built into this plan allow for us to have input from our stakeholders and our customers built into the reuse plan, and then also continue to evaluate. So we will just be using them frequently throughout the process as new projects are brought up. And using that, we had those 2 reuse projects really come up as being the most feasible, which would be the Winrock system, obviously, because we're in the works with that, and then the Bousque reuse system and the north to south connection. And next slide. With that, I will stand for questions.
Do we have any questions? Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I must say, that was a magnificent presentation. I had 3 or 4 questions that I wanted to ask going into this, and you answered every one of them. So, very good, except for one. I'd like to know, what is the permit process on these? What's the length of time? Who all do we have to go through? And just give us a little bit of an overview of the permitting process, please.
Chairman Quesada and Councilor Jones, that's a really good question. Right now, the permitting process looks like it's with the New Mexico Environment Department, and it falls under their groundwater discharge permitting process. So the way it looks, and actually they've already permitted we've got the two existing systems, so I expect it to be somewhat the same, where we give them a notice of intent, and they would offer iterations with the permit and then get to a final permit to require sampling. So we would be required to sample both at the treatment system, what's coming into the pipe, and then tracking the water quality that we're delivering to the turf areas. One of the good things I would say is that the NMED has been a great partner, and so we have had success with them with the permitting process of letting them know before a project is even beginning, here's a project that we're doing, here's what we anticipate we will use the water for. So again, that fit for use. And then, hey, let's use a roadmap we already have from these other permits to get a permitting compliance requirement that's consistent and also protective.
Mr. Chair, one more.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and then I'll zip it for the night. But this is fascinating to me. So how can we go from, it's my understanding that now Bear Canyon is handling about 500 to 600 acre feet, and the plan is to go to 3,000 acres feet. How? How?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman and Councilor Jones. The limitation at Bear Canyon is purely the San Juan Chama water available. So that water in the north side reuse system and Bear Canyon is a permit for 3,000 acre feet per year. And so that 3,000 right now is shared between the north reuse irrigation and Bear Canyon. And Bear Canyon gets essentially the leftovers. We have to make sure we meet the demand for irrigation accounts. If those irrigation accounts are able to actually get true reused water from connecting the north to south line, that opens up that entire 3,000 acre feet of San Juan Chama water to go to Bear Canyon and go into the ground. There will need to be some changes made to Bear Canyon to be able to accommodate that volume, but we know the aquifer can handle it. We've already done all the testing to verify that it'll infiltrate. It'll just modify how we do operations and working with the state engineer's office.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's what we want to see happen. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more questions? For me, I was looking at the funding that was there, and I saw the funding that's needed. Is there other opportunities besides, going to the state for that type of funding to really kind of expedite some of those projects? Because I know those projects, well, in my opinion, and I don't know for a fact, but in my opinion, those projects, dates on the bottom of that particular slide, I think is probably affected by realistically getting the funding source. How could we, or what are the opportunities to change and expedite some of those funding sources for some of those projects?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to defer to Liz on the funding question. I think that some of
Mr. Sanchez could answer that if he wants to. I think he
Sure.
probably.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, keep in mind that much of our debt will be paid off in around 2026, 2027, and that's going to free up some capacity for large-scale projects like this.
Okay. So that's great. So that may, expedite some of those projects a little sooner. So Mr. Sanchez, is there federal dollars coming this way? Is there access to that for reuse?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, much of the federal money, as you know, has gone to cities and counties as part of the stimulus programs, not utilities. We're not sure about this infrastructure program, if it will pass, and what it will contain, but it's doubtful that it would fully fund any of these projects. It might advance them a little further.
Okay. Because that's something I think we might want to do to our federal elected officials to talk about that infrastructure. Because, you know, as we all know, water is the most precious thing to us here in New Mexico. And if that's one of our priorities with infrastructure in order to help us be better stewards of our water, I think that we should really, you know, advocate for that and see if that is part of the infrastructure plan. Because for us, yes, roads, and yes, you know, yes to all of that, but I think our number one need, realistically, especially after looking at that drought map, you know, every time we look at that drought map, you know, when we hear the word reuse, our ears pick up and perk up. And if that's really going to help us in long-term sustainability for you know, for us here in Bernalillo County and the city of Albuquerque, I think we all want to advocate for that. So if there's something we can do, Mr. Sanchez, I would like to be a part of that. And I believe everybody else here on this meeting would like to be a part of, you know, advocating for that infrastructure dollars if we're able to, even if we have to filter it through the city or through the county and get it to the Water Utility Authority to make that happen. I don't see that really being a problem for us, you know, as long as we can expedite a few of those projects, because they're great. Like Councilor Jones says, they're all exciting projects. They're all going to make big changes to how we use water here. All of them will. And so maybe, you know, maybe some of the lower dollar ones, the connection from north to south is very exciting to me. But again, I live on the west side, so I know how that's going to affect us here on the west side. But I'm sure Commissioner Piscotti is looking at that huge one, the huge project that would truly affect her district as well.
Thank you.
Other than that, I think that's what we have. We have no more questions. Thank you all so much for your time, as always. Enjoy your July. Don't get roasted. Try to stay cool. And let's survive July. And we'll see everybody in August. Thank you so much. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
A participant has left the meeting.